How to worry less and trust God more. Financial analyst and author Dan Celia shares helpful information that changed his life and could change yours. Plus, Studio 5's Efrem Graham is here with the latest from the world of entertainment on today's 700 Club Interactive. Well, welcome to the show. Here's Efrem Graham with this week's Top 5 from Studio 5.
At number 5, a People magazine exclusive and an American Idol surprise. Jordan Sparks is married to model Dana Isaiah, and they're expecting a baby boy.
Sparks met Isaiah's family when she traveled to Houston during Super Bowl weekend this past February. The two started talking when Sparks' mom and Isaiah's mom put their kids on a group text together, bonding quickly over their tight-knit families and shared Christian faith. Fast forward to July 16th when the couple decided to elope on vacation in Hawaii with a small group of friends. After surprising their loved ones with that news, the couple received the biggest shock of their lives when Sparks discovered she was pregnant in late August.
I saw it said positive and I walked out and I was like, I need you to come here. So he comes in and I turn around and I go, I'm pregnant. And it was like such a shock for both of us. And then I turned around and then I started bawling in the closet.
At number 4, Prince Harry splashes across magazine covers.
Ladies, he's off the market, taken by this woman, Meghan Markle. Meghan shows off her glittering ring, 1 stone from Botswana and 2 from Princess Diana's personal collection. For Harry, a heartfelt tribute to his mother, the People's Princess.
You know, to be able to have this, which sort of links where you come from, and Botswana, which is important to us, and it's perfect.
There's days like today when I really miss having her around and miss being able to share the happy news. But you know, with the ring and with everything else that's going on, I'm sure she's with us. I'm sure she's with us.
At number 3, Kirk Franklin.
Show me your face. Fill up this space.
The gospel great took to Instagram with a major announcement for gospel music coming to his hometown, Dallas, Texas.
Memorial Day weekend, it will be the first ever of its kind in the history of the genre. Myself and Live Nation, we partnered to give you the Exodus Music Festival. Kirk Franklin's Exodus Music and Arts Festival.
At number 2.
And the Grammy goes to...
2018 Grammy nominations are out, and a few friends of Studio 5 have made the cut.
What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is, you sing.
Hillsong Worship could take home the Best Contemporary Christian Song Award for What a Beautiful Name.
I say it's too hard not to.
Tina Campbell is up for Best Gospel Song for this single, Too Hard Not To.
God wanted me to convey this message because this is the story of my life.
Never have to be alone.
And CeCe Winans is nominated in the same category for Never Have to Be Alone, a song co-written and produced by her son, Alvin Love III.
I found out a whole nother level that I didn't know that God had really blessed him with, you know, downloaded in him.
At number 1, the faith story behind the creation of the iconic Apple Store.
My favorite verse, Mark 12:31. It's love your neighbor as yourself. Yes. It's the people you work with, it's your customers, it's your business partners. And so if you're trying to honor that, you got to do it in work, through work, and that's what the Apple Store is all about.
That's Apple Store creator Ron Johnson appearing on the Dove Channel's Frankly Faraci, where he also talked about his faith and friendship with the late Steve Jobs.
Steve and I didn't talk about it a lot, but I remember when he first had cancer and we had a long phone call about faith and what it meant to me and what it could mean to him. And my only advice was very simple. Steve, for a person who's as smart as you are, now you ought to take some time and think about this issue of eternity. Is it there or not? And how do you think about it? I said, just don't take it for granted.
Well, that's a great jumping. Don't take it for granted. I find it incredible, the founder of the Apple Store, the one who designed all of that, has as his principle, love your neighbor as yourself.
And the beautiful story behind Ron Johnson is he is also one of the masterminds behind Target's success. Steve Jobs stole him from Target and had him to create the Apple Store. Yes, and unfortunately, he did have one dip. He also went to JCPenney and was the mastermind behind the big changes at JCPenney that didn't go so well.
Yeah,
but he said even that he learned all things work together for good, and that God used that for him to start his own company, for him to literally hone the whole branding of himself, and he is all about relationships. His company now is called Enjoy, and what they do is you can order something from them, they personally deliver it to you, and then work with you to make sure that you know how to operate it. So he loves the whole idea of relationship. He says that he loves to see love played out. He loves to see it in action. That was his mastermind behind Target. That was what he was thinking behind the Apple Store, and that's what he's doing with his company, Enjoy.
Oh,
now.
most success to him. That, and that should catch on throughout the business community.
Absolutely.
That,
relationship.
It works.
Yes, it does. It does.
It does. All right, well, let's go across the pond to the Royals and Meghan Markle making history. What do you think about it?
I think it's a beautiful love story. She, of course, the daughter of an African-American mom and a white father. So she is African-American, marrying into royalty. That's a beautiful story. And she had given an interview, and I think in Vogue magazine some months ago, and said that she loves a good love story. And this is before this all played out in her life. And the ring, as you heard, the center jewel from Botswana, which is where they do a lot of charitable work together. And I think he proposed just as they were making a roast chicken. It was a real basic thing. They were just hanging around, and then he pops the question. And they said that he wouldn't settle down.
Yeah, he was the
bad boy,
the wild one,
he was the bad prince.
Some things in Vegas that ought to stay in Vegas.
Yes.
But you know, do you know how they met? What's the backstory?
I understand that he saw I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he saw something that, because she's an actress, he saw something that she was in and wanted to meet her, and that's what led to the meeting, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the story that I've read.
So how do you do that? Do you call the agent?
You can say, yes. She's
Bring me Meghan.
She's going to give up acting after this wedding.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And her life is going through a huge change now, and I'm not sure. Anyway, blessings on them.
We pray for them. We pray, and we'll be watching. They're getting married in the spring.
Okay, Christians are all through the Grammys now.
There's at least 5 categories in the gospel or contemporary Christian category. We have had a lot of the guests right here in this studio, in Studio 5 as well. I am pulling for CeCe Winans for Best Gospel Album. I think it is the best gospel album.
Are you going to make everybody else in the category mad?
No, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that.
Everybody mad.
Don't stop talking to
one
me.
Person
Please
happy.
Continue to come. Their music is great. I just really loved that album, and to this day, still listening to it in my car every morning on the way to work. And it was produced by her son. And her son, to have been at her feet all those years, absorbing all these things to the point that, you know, when she had walked away from the business to pastor for a while, he said, "Mom, I know how you ought to come back, and I've got it." And she's like, "Come back? Where did I go?" I know. And he produces this wonderful album, wrote virtually every song on it, and one of the songs nominated for Best Gospel Song, and the album nominated for Best Gospel Album. That's a great story.
Okay. What about Hillsong? Are they gonna?
I think they will win that category. I think they seem to win every single year, some form of Hillsong. Last year it was Hillsong United. This is now Hillsong Worship's opportunity. And what a beautiful name it is. I mean, that song is so powerful. I would be surprised if it didn't win Best Song.
Well, what about Kirk Franklin, who's now doing Gospel Music Fest?
And the reason, I guess part of the inspiration behind that is if you look at gospel sales have dropped dramatically over the years. And he is trying to celebrate and push gospel to another level and to get people to pay attention to it. So in his hometown of Dallas, Memorial Day weekend. Tickets go on sale Friday. Pre-sale going on right now. Ticket sales begin on this coming Friday. And it's a weekend-long festival. Tamala Mann will be there. Ty Tribbett will be there. Kirk Franklin will be there. And he's going to continue to add to this list. And he hopes for it to be a powerful weekend, but to get the world to pay attention to gospel music and to listen to it more.
I think they're listening. They're just not buying CDs anymore. I mean, the technology has completely wiped out the industry.
It has.
I mean, you know, why buy the CD when you can listen to it on Spotify?
Most of us can say, when's the last time you bought a whole CD?
Yeah. It's a tough business now. And if you're not into live performance, how do you really make it anymore? Because the micropayments from YouTube or Spotify aren't going to do it.
$10 a month doesn't bother me. Yes, I know.
All right, last one, Jordan Sparks.
Congratulations to Jordan Sparks, you know, because she admitted that she literally walked away from her faith, got involved in relationships that she is not proud of, and regrets that, but at the same time came back to God and literally had said, you know, I give up on this whole idea of a relationship and romance, because she went through some public breakups with some high-profile celebrities themselves. And she said, I gave up on it, and that was not my passion anymore. I was simply pursuing and getting my relationship with God right. And then these two families meet, both Christian families. They've got a son, they've got a daughter. I think you two should meet. And this happens, and done God's way, preserved themselves, got married, and got pregnant sooner than she wanted to, but they will have a baby.
Off a log.
Yes.
It happens real easy.
And they are very, very excited. A beautiful couple. Congratulations.
And congratulations. And congratulations on the baby.
Yes, absolutely. A son.
All right. Well, for all the latest in entertainment news, all you have to do is check out Efrem's weekly show, Studio 5. You can go to cbn.com/Studio 5 to watch. Well, the holidays are notorious for bringing stress, and money is at the top of the list. Find out how you can overcome fear and manage your God-given resources with joy. Financial analyst and radio host Dan Celia joins us next. Well, if the love of money is the root of all evil, then what is the fear of money? Financial analyst and radio host Dan Celia says when it comes to your finances, you can worry less and trust God more.
Dan Celia sold his business where he managed over $900 million and started a part-time radio show to help others make sound financial decisions. For over 20 years, his 2-hour live call-in broadcast called Financial Issues has expanded to 600 stations and is heard in every state in the country. He's also heard around the world via the internet. In his latest book, The Fear of Money, Dan teaches us how to worry less about money, or the lack thereof, and offers biblical solutions on how to handle what God entrusts to us in faith, not fear.
Well, Dan joins us now, and let's get right into it. The fear of money. We seem to be born to it. Why is that?
Yeah, we are. I think there is this inherent attitude in us from the time we're young. You know, I wrote that one chapter about actually being born into it, making reference to my wife's one of 11. And, you know, they're all very different in a lot of different ways, but they all have the same common thread of the fear of not enough. It's never too much, of course. There's no fear of that. But not enough. How am I going to pay my bills? You know, where's it going? Am I in debt? How do I get out of debt? You know, those kinds of things. So I think we have this fear. The real downside, Gordon, to the fear is that we tend to help ourselves out with that fear by clinging to it in every way that we can, and striving first and foremost to make sure that that fear is taken care of in however way we think it needs to be taken care of. And, you know, certainly that is an issue when it comes to the kingdom. When it comes to the kingdom work we need to be doing with that, God, of course, the great multiplier, and we kind of lose touch with our heart, you know, what's important in our hearts as Jesus talked about in Luke's gospel about, you know, our treasure is where our heart is. And we really need to get focused on where our heart is. So the subtitle of the book, Have We Separated Our Finances from Our Faith, is so true. Because we've separated that. We say, well, you know what, God, I got this. We'll pray about everything under the sun, but I got this, God. Don't worry about it. It's my money. I don't want to bother you with that. And we need to take everything to the throne of God. We need to be praying about our financial decisions, our jobs, our talents, our abilities, our opportunities, all of those things from a financial perspective, we need to be praying about. We don't do that enough because we allow the world to dictate where we are with our money or our attitudes about our money.
Well, one of the things that really struck me, when I first approached the book, I thought it was going to be another book about finances. And what surprised me is that it was a book about your heart. And it was more of a devotional book that I think it's unique that you're focused on the fear of money, because I think that's actually a more common problem than the love of money. And particularly in the Christian community, I think more people are afraid of money and don't want to address, you know, how do I invest and how do I save and how do I live responsibly. But you say the real hard issue is, have we really trusted God with everything?
Yeah, exactly. And that is the real issue. We really haven't. You know, I tithe 10%, so the rest of the 90%, that's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. You know.
Thanks very much, God.
Yeah, right. Here's yours, God. Now I'm going to move on. And, you know, so it really is a hard issue. And, you know, I had one of the things that inspired the book was I was talking to somebody that wanted to air my program on their network. And he said, you know, Dan, kind of taboo, you know, to be talking about wealth. So I'm not somebody that's talking about getting out of debt and all that. I you know, Crown Financial does a great job with that, and I'm not going to reinvent that. I'm talking to people that have money. I'm talking about people that have gotten themselves out of debt and how they become great stewards for God and for the kingdom with that money, and how to invest wisely in economic issues and things like that. He said, you know, that's kind of taboo in Christian circles. You know, we just don't talk about that.
Why is that? I know in my own life, you know, you think you're done with it. You think that, okay, well, I'm tithing, I'm giving sacrificially. But God's really been dealing with me the past couple of years. What's my dream? You know, as I become more successful, what's that dream for? And is that dream for advancing the kingdom and putting the resources He's placed at my disposal to that, or am I living some sort of, you know, American success story kind of thing?
Right. Well, that's the difference between the worldly point of view. You know, and this fear, you know, I think the taboo is that, well, you know, we're not supposed to be, if we talk about it, are we worshiping it? Are we glorifying it? And, you know,
you're saying you're more spiritual if you're successful.
Right, all those kinds of things. And, you know, I had a little bit of a time convincing him, no, it's nothing like that. But not every Christian in the world is poor. Not everyone is in debt up to their eyeballs. And some people have some money.
Shouldn't do that.
Exactly. And so you know, one of the things that I say all the time, Gordon, is that it is amazing to me. One of the things that I came to the Lord late in life. So I probably have this unusual fire. I tell people that I was one of the scumbags on Wall Street that I talk about all the time now, you know, and I came to the Lord 30 years ago. My wife came 5 years later, but I didn't have my God was success. I don't want to say it was money, but it was success. That was my whole world was success. And, you know, I can relate to it. So I can relate to it really well. So I'm extremely passionate when I talk to people is, please, you're robbing yourself of the incredible worship that giving is. Don't rob yourself of that. Don't ever let any financial advisor rob you of giving to kingdom work, rob you of the worship that is. And here's why I say that. We know how much God wrote about money.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. And I'm not a theologian, but I believe that one of the reasons is God certainly knows that we are going to have this fear about having enough of it, and that we are going to begin to cling very tightly to it. So in light of that, if we are going to cling to it, which is going to lead to worship of it at some point in time, if we are clinging to it and we let go of it and we release it and we are doing kingdom work with it, this is really hyperbole, but I don't think there's a greater act of worship, because all I can think about is how joyful God must be that you are letting go something that he knows the world is telling you to hold tightly to it, yet you're giving it up. So that great ministries like 700 Club, great ministries like, feeding children and supporting Israel and things like this, and the proclamation of the gospel can be done. And we're clinging to it. And I think it brings him great joy when his children say, you know what, I know what the world is saying. I know what the world is saying. When I used to have a trust business, and about halfway through that, I came to the Lord. But, I can't tell you how many financial advisors I talk to. People call me every day and say, well, he wouldn't, my financial advisor said I was crazy that I wanted to give that much money to the 700 Club. They thought I was being conned, or they thought I was nuts, or they thought, why would you do that? You're going to need that money later in life. And, I'd say, well, how much money do you have? Well, I have X amount of dollars. Well, what kind of lifestyle do you have? Oh, we're very modest, lifestyle, and we don't have any debt and all that, and we're 75 years old. I said, need it for what? What could you possibly need that money for that wouldn't be in better hands if God had it in his kingdom work? And why would you allow somebody to rob you of that worship? Because it's an incredible worship.
They're giving the rap. I think the book is wonderful, and I encourage you to get it. It's called The Fear of Money, and it will really shine a spotlight on your heart and where your heart is. And giving is an act of worship. It is something that we need to realize all of it is God's. He has put us in stewardship over it, and what we do with it really matters. So get it. The Fear of Money, it's available anywhere.
Website, financialissues.org.
Okay.
Great place to get it.
Well, up next, after falling from a ladder and injuring her knee, Lynn worried about the financial implications. Find out how turning on the television made all the difference when we return. Well, the holidays are the busiest time of the year, and the last thing Lynn wanted was to be constantly on the move and in constant pain. She had twisted her knee in a fall, and every step was an agonizing one. Here's how she got back on her feet.
Whether she's traveling, working around the house, or enjoying the outdoors, Lynn Milenkovich is always on the move.
I'm a very physical person. Most of my activities are biking, hiking, kayaking. I'm on my knees doing macro photography on the ground with little flowers. And
even her part-time job working for a banquet service requires her to be on her feet constantly.
Walking nonstop for 8 hours sometimes, carrying heavy loads.
The day after Thanksgiving 2015, Lynn was having trouble rehanging some curtains she had cleaned.
I just was backing down the ladder and missed the last step and fell sideways, and my right knee twisted sideways. And I thought I dislocated it. I was in extreme pain. I couldn't put weight on my foot.
Lynn decided to wait until after the weekend to see her doctor. She rested and took some aspirin, but neither helped.
It wasn't recovering right away. I felt depressed about it. I couldn't do anything. I could hobble to get to something, but I couldn't work on anything. It hurt too bad. It was sharp. It was very painful.
Lynn prayed over the weekend for healing. On Monday, she turned on the 700 Club.
It was the holidays and a full schedule, and I can't imagine being on crutches or in a hospital or rehab or something like that during the holidays with all the commitments and parties and festivities during Christmas.
And with a busy season ahead, Lynn was worried she would have to miss work.
That day, Gordon was praying for people in the audience, and he said there's someone in the audience with a torn right ligament in their knee.
And you're in severe pain, God's healing that. He's able to restore. He's able to completely heal in Jesus' name.
So I put my hand on my knee where it hurt, and I said, Lord, I claim that. You know, I'm gonna take that.
Do what you couldn't do before. Begin to move that knee and realize God's touched you. He's restored you.
And instantly, I mean instantly, the pain stopped, and I could move my knee, I could put my weight on my foot, I could walk, and I wasn't able to do that up to that point. I could move like nothing happened right after that. I was so excited. I was just, oh Lord, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Lynn worked an entire banquet that weekend without any pain. She was also able to get back to her active lifestyle and hasn't had any problems with her knee since.
This really confirms to me that God really loves us. You know, He cares about whether we feel good or not. So I would encourage people to go to God first, because He really, really cares about us. He really cares about the littlest details of your life, like an injury or a job. You know, He cares about the details. He really does.
We serve a God who knows how many hairs are on your head. He numbers them. He is vitally concerned with everything about you. If you need prayer, if you need to have that understanding wash over you that He cares for you, that He loves you, we're here for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call 1-800-700-7000. Here's a word from Romans. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are the sons of God. So be led by the Spirit today. God bless you. We'll see you again.